To the cloud. Okay, we're recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, real random. PowerPoint.
let's do this.
Don't be looking at yourself the entire time.
No promises.
Okay, guys, here we go. So, welcome to Beyond the Game Mind and Body podcast, where we explore the powerful connection between athletics and mental health. I'm your host, Michael Couture. Right now, I'm in grad school studying to become a mental health therapist and a lifelong athlete. Today's episode, we're going to dive into the topic that's often overlooked in sports, mental health. So we often hear about the physical side of sports, the training, the competition, the victories. But what about the toll it can take on a person's mental well-being? To shed some light, I'm here to have a special guest with me today. Joining me is a friend who not only played sports in high school, but also competed at a college level. He's here to share his personal experiences with mental health challenges athletes face behind the scenes. So we're going to hear about the pressures, the struggles, and the lessons learned along the way, as well as the mental health can just be as important as the physical training. So let's grab a seat. Whether you're an athlete, coach, fan, this conversation is for everybody who cares about the mind-body connection and wants mental health to take a rightful place in the sports world. So welcome to the podcast, Alex Dejordy. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Of course. So Alex, just give a little background information about you. Do you mind telling a little background about you?
Absolutely. So my name is Alex. I'm a personal trainer. I'm an online fitness and mindset coach. I do house flipping part-time with my father, and I love helping people. And I love helping people because I found what helped me get better, and that was health and fitness. Health and fitness got me out of a very low point in my life. And without health and fitness, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I think health and fitness is for everybody. No matter what you do, we all have the right to be healthy and fit. However, not all of us deserve it. You have to earn that luxury of being healthy and fit. And today, I'm going to share my story about my struggles, about my anxiety, about my depression, about my paranoia. And I'm going to tell you guys how health and fitness helped me get out of that, and also mindset training, how that helped me get out of that as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Alex. To start this off, can you take us back to your childhood? What were some of the biggest struggles you faced growing up?
Yeah, so my childhood, let's rewind the clock back. Elementary, middle school, high school. I was very timid, very shy, and I was not one who wanted to be the center of attention. And this probably sounds familiar. This probably sounds like most of you guys. However, the causing factor for this was because I had very little confidence in myself. My self-esteem was very low. I didn't know how to speak in front of groups of people. I had a stuttering problem. I had a chronic blushing issue where wherever my body felt stressed, I would get hot flashes and I would get flushed skin and my skin would turn red. And you probably think, oh, that's cute. It's just blushing. No, it wasn't cute. It plagued me for a long time. And it actually caused me to drop out of college my first year. At Roger Williams University, 2018, I dropped out because I wasn't showing up to class because I was afraid to be around people. And that caused a leakage into my personal life. I wouldn't go home at night and have dinner with my family because I was afraid of the attention and the pressures that they would put on me, because they would ask me how my day was and I was skipping class. And this snowballed into a paranoia. I became paranoid to be around people. I became paranoid to be the center of attention, even if it was just a conversation with one person. I wanted to avoid it. And I found myself avoiding everybody in my life that I cared about. And I found myself very lonely, extremely lonely, to the point where I used to sometimes skip class and I would just sit in my car and I would wonder, like, why am I doing this? Why did I get myself here? What is the cause of this? Why are you putting me through this, God? And it was the worst time of my life. Absolute worst. This would have been impossible back then. Speaking in front of the camera and speaking to you would have been impossible to me. But luckily, health and fitness, going to the gym, that was kind of like my North Star. I kept on following that. I knew the gym was important and the gym was keeping me productive. And that wasn't enough, though. because my mindset, my mentality was still that of a victim. I was still the person who was afraid to go out there and be himself. I was still the person who couldn't look himself in the mirror, and I couldn't hold my word to myself, which is the worst part. If you can't hold your word to yourself, and that's a pretty shitty feeling, I'm sure you guys know that. And I wanted to change that. And as much as the training we do for our body, we have to do the training for our mind. And I started to adopt a mindset of chasing what scares me. So that was just me raising my hand more in class to speak out loud, even though if I would stutter, even though if I would get all red, even though if I would get the answer wrong, I was addicted to that feeling because I knew that was the only way to get over my pain and suffering. And once I started doing that, the tables started to turn my way. And I'll never forget, I had a counselor when I was at college in Michigan. And I met with her because I was having a very hard time on my first week, community college, trying to get back into school. I wanted to drop out and go back home. I wanted to give it all up again. And the first day of class, I go to introduce myself, and it's hard for me to say my name in front of people, which is crazy to you guys, I bet, because you see me speaking in front of people all the time now. But it was hard for me to say my name in front of people, Michael. Like I was like stuttering, I was sweating, I was getting all red and flushed, I was getting agitated. And I just got up and I ran out of the room. I was crying in the bathroom and I see this janitor, and this janitor looks miserable. All right. He looks like he's like the bottom of the barrel, um, not a happy person. And I saw him, and then for some reason, I just saw myself in that person. And I'm like, damn, if I don't get my act together, I'm going to end up like this poor freaking janitor. And I asked God for strength in that moment. I was crying on the floor of the bathroom. I swear to God. And in that moment, something got me up and I walked right back into that classroom, and that changed everything. And then after that, I saw a counselor, and she said, hey, the sooner you accept it, the sooner you move on. And for me, accepting it was becoming vulnerable with it. And you become vulnerable by telling people what's going on in your life. For 17 years, I'm sorry, for 19 years, I hid what was going on with me with all the people I cared about. I didn't tell anybody. And it bottled up inside me to the point where I wanted to literally have an emotional breakdown every single day in school, every time I came home for dinner, every time someone asked me, hey, how are you doing? I wanted to cry. But that all changed as soon as I opened up. I told my parents, I told my family, I told my friends. I said, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, I haven't had my confidence and I haven't had high self esteem in a long time. Here's why. And that was my turning point. So I asked God for strength, and I became vulnerable by telling people what's going on with me. And that took a lot of courage for me at the time, but it was the turning point.
Well, thank you, Alex, for sharing that. That's such a powerful story,
Okay.
very inspirational story. One thing that I really took from that was accepting it. And when you said you went to the psychologist, that right in that first moment, and they said you have to accept it, and you had to be vulnerable into accepting that. And that is one of the biggest problems that people struggle with is accepting that they need the help. They can go for help, but if they don't truly accept that they're hurting somewhere inside, they have some kind of problem, then you're never going to get better because you have to first take the big step of accepting that you have it and accepting that you're going to do the work to be able to be better.
Absolutely.
So that is a great part of your story, which I love.
Thank you.
Going on to the next. Did you ever feel like you had to hide parts of yourself from others?
Yeah, so growing up, I wanted to hide my blushing for sure. And I wanted to hide that by being away from people. I also wanted to hide my inner personality where I like to be extroverted and I want to be the center of attention. And I wanted to be a break dancer in college. So I became a break dancer. And I was trying to hide all the qualities of me that demanded attention because I was afraid of the attention, because I was not confident in myself. And I was hiding myself for so long, all of middle school, all of high school, and my first couple years of college. And then again, what changed was the acceptance principle. As soon as I accepted where I was, and as soon as I told people about it, the vulnerability aspect, that's when my life changed. And the cool thing is that every single person supported me. The judgment that I was afraid that was coming, it never came. It never freaking came. All I got was just love and support.
And that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people deal with is when they need the help, they always say, what is someone going to think about me? What if this guy thinks this way about me? What if, so those what ifs are the biggest thing that hurt you in a way, because a lot of the times everyone thinks negative about what if this doesn't work? What if mental health therapy doesn't work? What if my family doesn't really accept me anymore? Because I'm going through these struggles and they might not. So that is the biggest thing is the what ifs. And that is one thing that I love learning about and trying to help people with because a lot of my clients that I have to this day all have the what ifs. What if this? What if this happens to me? Well, what if it does? You don't know. Um, so because it can never happen, and that's the biggest thing right there.
Yeah, that's huge. We can't live our life guided by what ifs. We have to live our life guided by what now?
Yep.
What do I need to do now? So that way I'll never have a what if moment.
You got to live in the present.
Yeah, you do.
Where were there any moments or environments where you felt like you didn't belong?
Yes, I always hated the school environments. I never felt like I fit in the school environment again because I was afraid to be around people. I was afraid of that classroom. I was afraid to raise my hand. I was afraid of stuttering. I was afraid of my face turning red, whatever it is. So I was petrified at times of that environment, of being in school. And, we're in school for a long time. I was in school for 24 years of my life. So that became a paranoia to me. And that leaked out into other avenues of my life, like my family, my social life, my gym life. Even going to the gym at times used to be really difficult for me. And it was terrible. And again, the principle of acceptance and vulnerability got me through that phase of my life. And I became aware that, hey, I'm not the only one that has these problems. I'm not the only one who feels this way. And the environment where I belong is the environment where everybody is going through a hard time. And I want to be with those people because we're all going through things and it's good to share our story with other people. So, yeah.
And that is something very powerful that you're doing right now, is sharing your story to many people to hear this. And that's why I started this podcast, is for young people or anyone to hear these stories and be inspired by them to, if they're going through something that you went through in your life, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to accept it and seek help. So it's the biggest thing. So thank you again for coming on this podcast with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So how did your upbringing shape the way you viewed yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. My upbringing, my family is fantastic. I grew up with a good traditional family in the sense that um, my father instilled work ethic in us through his example and through him providing for us. My dad is a very financially wealthy man. He's also a very emotionally stable. He's also a very confident man. He has his boxes checked in a lot of categories of life: finance, business, uh, you know, emotions and fatherhood and leadership. So I always had a good role model growing up. And my mom was the exact spitting image of my father, except her strengths were in love, were in kindness, were in support, were in taking care of us. So my childhood growing up was fantastic. I grew up with great role models.
To go off of that, do you know where your insecurities started coming from as you got
Yes.
childhood or older?
Yeah, so as I got older, as I probably crept into middle school, I just noticed that I never liked going to school. And I'd go to school and my friends would be like happy to be there, right? And I would just be always miserable, very quiet, very to myself. And even to like remember kindergarten, my first day of kindergarten, I remember on the first day just showing up, not wanting to leave my mother's side, crying to have her bring me back home. Then she left me with a few of other kids that were also crying as well. And that was my first experience with school. It was just bad. And of course, there was some good experiences in school, but for the most part, school was always an environment where I felt like I didn't really fit in. And my insecurities probably started to stem when I turned 13, so maybe like sixth grade. And, that's when you're going through puberty. That's when, we're becoming young adults. And that's where everything becomes more sensitive and awkward and things get more cliquey and things get more social. And I felt like I was lacking a lot in my social game because, I wasn't very confident. And that's when my insecurities really got highlighted. And from then on there, it was like a snowball effect all the way up until college. Then I had a breaking point in college. And that's when I asked for help from God. And that's when I accepted what was going on. And that's when I became vulnerable. And that's how I changed.
To go off of that, if you had yourself now, you took yourself now, and what your mindset, the way you are, to back then to kindergarten and first grade and second grade and third grade, do you think you'd love school more, or do you think you'd still be going through the same things as you did back then?
Oh, I'd kill it. I always tell people if I could go back to high school, I would run for class president. I'd be the quarterback for the football team because I'm athletic now and I'm big and strong. And I would just do so many things because now I found my confidence and I found my reason why for doing things. My reason why to do things on this planet is to improve my life through my self image and improve other people's lives through my self image. Now, why do I feel this confidence? Well, because this is what I had to do to get out of my hard time. I had to make myself and my self image into the man that I desired to be. And I did that through asking God for strength, by asking for help, accepting what was going on with me, and becoming vulnerable. So that's where my confidence stems from now.
Did you have anyone to talk to growing up when things got heavy, or did you mostly just keep it inside of you?
I kept it all inside of me. Bad idea.
What a lot of people do, though, and a lot of people struggle with because they're scared to go talk to people, they're scared to seek help. A lot of people don't think that mental health therapy is going to help them. A lot of people think that talking to them is going to show that they're weak and they're not strong. So
Yeah. And also, I think that from my experience, sometimes, like when I was going through my hard times, I felt like talking about it was a way for me to get attention. And that was the attention I didn't want. In reality, that attention is exactly what we need in order for us to get better. Because that attention highlights, like, hey, man, there really is something going on with you. And it's okay if we talk about it. Because guess what? I went through something like that X amount of years ago. I went through something like that right now. And that will help you heal and recover. And remember, the definition of recovery is to get something back. And at the time, I didn't have my confidence. I didn't have my self-esteem. I didn't know who I was. I lost that about myself and I needed that back. And my road to recovery started with acceptance and vulnerability. So don't be afraid to open yourself up and ask for help.
thank you. Was there any ever a breaking point or moment where you knew you had to start taking mental health seriously?
Yes, I would say my breaking point was when I was living in Michigan, going to college and going to my classes. And my attitude in my classes was like I was on the front lines of like World War II, right? I was scared to be in a classroom because I was scared of the social pressure. Inside my mind, my psychology was so twisted where the environment of the classroom was so hostile to me and my attitude was so out of character. I was paranoid, I was anxious, I was nervous, and I was like, why? Why am I going through this? But I knew why it was. And that stems from my insecurity that I talked about. And yeah, what was the question again?
Was there ever a breaking point or moment where you knew you had to start taking mental health seriously?
Yeah, so my breaking point was when I was skipping classes, is when I was lying to myself, when I was lying to other people, and when I was lying to myself about my false confidence that I never had. And that was my breaking point. That's when I knew that I had to take my mindset and my mental health serious. And I took it serious by asking the right questions, by
Accepting it.
accepting it, yeah, and by going out and doing the things that scare me.
What coping strategies do you use when you start to spiral mentally or emotionally now or back then?
Absolutely. So, a huge coping strategy that I developed over the years is positive self talk. Okay. Nothing is really as bad as it seems. And I can say that pretty confidently because most of my bad situations in life, they have been remedied as of recently by positive self-talk. Okay. And also acceptance, the acceptance principle. If we don't accept the bad thing that's happening to us, then it will always be a bad thing. Once we accept it, we can really see it for what it is. All right. You fail that exam and you make up all the excuses as to why you should have passed. But no, you accept that you were up late playing video games. All right. And then from then on there, your habits change and you got to be on the next exam. So accept that something bad's going on and then just take the proper action to get through it. Okay.
Yeah, especially for me, like when I'm going through something, I always reach out to you, of course, but and you always tell me lock back in, do the things that you love doing, send your goals in every day, 10 goals every morning, do
Yeah.
your podcast that you love working on, do your homework, do your schoolwork. And that's what really brings me back into the things that are really going on in my life. That brings me back to reality that I can do this.
That's right. Yeah, so you said something, the goal setting every morning. So why do you think I have you do that? And why do you think I do that myself and have my clients do that?
I think for me, I'm going to say it for me that when I do it, I'm striving for something every day. It's pushing me to strive for greatness to, okay, let me complete these 10 goals that I want to complete today. And it's motivating me to do the things that I need to do to get done. But it's also helping me because at some points in my life, I don't even need to send my goals. And I just know I need to do these things. These are the goals I want to do today.
Mhm.
And it's kind of motivating me into even just like doing a daily life, like doing the things that I love, working on my podcast. Like I used to send the goals because it would motivate me, but now I don't really need the motivation. It's I want to do it now.
Nice. That's exactly the purpose as to why I do that. Eventually, you find yourself being automatic about your daily goal setting, and you just have an automatic operating table for you getting your goals. Sweet. That's good to hear, man.
So I know you went to therapy in college, you said you started on.
Yeah.
If what was your experience like for you, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah, so my therapist or counselor, I should say, in college was fantastic. In college, I needed a counselor to talk to about the psychological problems I was having. Again, my paranoia, my depression, my social anxiety, my lack of confidence. And I needed to speak to somebody that had a lot of experience working with younger people with my issues. And it was terrifying at first. It was absolutely terrifying at first to be in that room and tell a stranger something I've never told anybody in my whole life. And it was like ripping off a band-aid though when I did. And yeah, so opening up to a stranger can sometimes be easier than opening up to like a family member or a friend because a family member and a friend has a definition of who you are. You know, they know who you are and you're afraid of their judgment because you might act out of character in front of them. But a stranger has no idea what type of character you are, so you can act any way you want in front of them and they'll think that that's just normal you. So talking to a professional that I didn't know was again a big mental band-aid being ripped off of my pain and my trauma, and it felt so good. So go talk to a specialist.
And I think another thing is to add on to that. When you talk to someone, like for me, when I went to go see a therapist, I saw a woman. And for me, I did not feel comfortable doing that. Just who I was. So I went to go get another therapist, and it was a dude, and I could tell everything to. So you want to, instead of not wanting to do therapy because you had one therapist and it wasn't good at all, there's many others options out there and many other people that you will feel comfortable telling. And that is the biggest thing. For an example, like I was actually had a client the other day, meeting for the first time, and she said, "No, I'm not doing this. You're too young." And I said, "Okay."
Were
And
you offended?
no, because I know a lot of she was older, and I know a lot of older people, even younger people talking to older people. They like younger and younger. So I know people want what they want, and I was okay with that. I said, "I will go find you another therapist." And instead, she walked out. And right there is what kind of took me to offense. Whereas you came in for help, and we have many other options for you to help. So instead of running because you don't want to talk to someone like that, finding a new therapist to talk to that will be better.
I agree. My therapist, she was a female. You're gonna go ahead and fix that.
Still recording, so I don't know why it does that.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
I never use this computer, but it's definitely the camera, so I can also use that too. Unless it doesn't look bad. Oh, it is. Technical difficulties. We're just gonna crop this out, guys. Hey, look good,
Keep 'em
Alex.
rolling.
Don't worry. Next. What practices like journaling, meditation, exercise can help you stay grounded? And I know fitness is one of them.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a big health and fitness guy. Fitness will change your life, and fitness will make you a better, more confident, more stronger, more fast, more fit, more flexible, more mobile, more better version of you. But I have other grounding techniques. I like to do journaling. I journal every single morning, my goals for the day, my intentions for the day, my gratitude for the day. I tell them to God, I tell them to myself, and I give them to my clients, and my clients give them back to me, and their days are changed because of it. They're more grounded. What does it mean to be more grounded?
To me, we're set in stone.
Okay, got it. For me, being more grounded means that you are disconnecting from the worldly distractions, and you're connecting more with yourself, with the world and the people around you. And when I say worldly distractions, I mean like the media, technology, stress, job, whatever. And grounding helps us be present in the moment and helps us focus. So my grounding techniques, fitness, journaling, talking to the God or the universe or whatever you believe in. And yeah, every morning have a morning routine.
On average. So Alex every day sends me his goals every day, and I send him my goals. We actually send a voice message to each other what we're gonna do. On
Yeah.
average, how many people a day do you send your goals to?
It's you, it's Jay, it's Nick, it's Jonah, it's Zach, it's Kevin, it's I send Bettina my gratitude, I send Matt my gratitude, I send Garn everything, I send who am I missing? So that's 10 people right there. So right now it's roughly 10 people, give or take, but I have people hop on and hop off this trend, so it's call it a dozen every day.
That's a dozen people every day that the first thing you do, wake up, and that's the first thing that you do. Because it shows that not only for yourself, you don't have to do that for people. You don't have to send me your goals every day, but you do it because you care. Because you care about other people. You do it. You send me your goals, so I hold you accountable, even though you don't really need it,
I
but to
do.
hold me accountable.
Mm,
And that is the biggest thing right there.
I do.
So
Well, I care about you guys.
I know. Love that for life. Do you think healing in a linear journey do you think healing is a linear journey or more like a roller coaster?
It's a roller coaster. Yeah, so my healing was gradual. And the way I healed from my broken, lack of confidence, paranoid, depressed state was hiking mountains, literally and figuratively. There's a peak, and then there's a descent. Then there's another peak, there's another descent. And that was my journey. That was my journey back towards getting myself back to being confident and being happy and being purpose driven. And so it's not linear. It's never going to be linear because there's always going to be more challenges that God throws at you. And remember, the challenges, they're challenges. They're a good thing. They're a mountain, a hill that is for you so that way you can get stronger for the next mountain. So if you get over one hurdle, don't expect there to be no more hurdles. There's going to be a lot more, but you're just going to keep on getting better. So again, call them challenges. Don't call them bad times or don't call it like life is going after you and you have the worst luck ever and my life sucks as all these problems are happening. No, call them challenges.
Love that.
That's a lot more positive.
What does confidence mean to you now compared to when you were younger?
Yeah, so when I was younger, confidence was about being the loudest, biggest guy in the room, right? And having all the girls and all the money and all that stuff. But no, confidence to me now is knowing exactly who you are and knowing exactly what your impact is and how you can change the world around you and walking through life with that attitude. That to me is confidence. And for me now, the most confident guy or the most confident person in the room is actually probably one of the quietest ones because he's the person or she's the person that doesn't have to prove themselves to anybody. They know what they're worth. That's why they're keeping their mouth shut. And then when the time comes, they will give their worth, they will give their service, and you will feel it. You will see it. I've met people like this. So, confidence to me is knowing who you are, knowing what your purpose is on this planet, and living it. That's confidence.
Bro, that was a great answer. That was a really good answer. I love that. Did you ever struggle? I know you talked about it a little with comparison or imposter syndrome. How did you manage it?
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Let's start there. So, being a personal trainer to me years ago felt like an impossible feat because there was a time where I couldn't even speak in front of my family members without getting nervous. So, the idea of speaking in front of strangers in a gym setting, telling them what to do and why to do it, seemed like it was a dream to me. So, when I became a trainer, or when I became interested in training and I would shadow other trainers and I would train people at the time, I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there because for my whole life I've never done this. And when I was doing it, I felt like I was a fraud because again, it was new to me. I was afraid of doing it and because my self-doubt was very loud at the time. But here's the cool thing about self-doubt. Self-doubt is actually an indicator. It's your North Star. If you're doubtful of something, then guess what? That something is the thing you need to do. So that became my mantra. Self-doubt, okay, I'm going to head towards that. So the more I did it, the more I just became convinced that I am this person. And the other part of the question was what?
Do you ever compare yourself to others?
Yeah, I do. One of my greatest mentors, Sean Robertson. Shout out to you, Sean. When I met him, he told me that comparison is the destruction of young men my age because guys like us, young men, we have big egos. We want to do big things in life. And we see older men that have done great things and we compare ourselves to them and we try to live up to their standards. And that's a problem because now you're living up to somebody else's standards. Even if that person is your role model, they can never set your standards for you. You set it for yourself. And that created a gap between me and my beloved mentor at the time. And that caused disconnection, that caused a lack of growth on my end, and that caused some resentment for a little bit. And then he called me out. He said, "Stop comparing yourself. Um, I can see it, I can feel it, and I could see it, and I could feel it in myself too. I was comparing myself to his feats, his accolades, what he's done, and I wanted it all for myself right now, but I didn't earn it yet. You have to earn it."
You gotta be your own person.
Yes.
That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, you do have to be your own person. Absolutely.
What would you say to your younger self who felt like he wasn't enough?
My younger self, what would I say to my younger self that felt like he wasn't enough?
He's right in front of you. What would you say to him?
Well, first of all, I would ask you, who are you and who do you want to become? If you don't know who you are, then I probably can't help you because you have to be honest with who you are and where you're at and what you're going through right now in life. If you're not honest about that, then there's not a lot of help that I can give you or anybody could give you. All right. Then I'd ask my younger self, where do you want to go in life? And at the time, you probably would have said something like, I just want to be confident. I just want to be able to walk into a room and be okay with who I am. And I would say, perfect. And I'll just say, walk into that room and remind yourself that it's okay to feel the way you feel. Just keep on doing it.
I have four more questions left for you.
Okay.
This is about helping others and breaking the stigma. So, what do you wish more people knew about mental health, especially young men?
I wish more people, especially younger people, knew that mental health is just as important as physical health, emotional health, financial health, relationship health, social media health, whatever type of health that you prioritize in your life, mental health is the most important one. It's not okay to have everybody stressed out, anxious, addicted to things on a Western societal basis, like most of the people are in this country. That's not okay because that leads you down a negative path. Mental health is something that's booming right now. Actually, we see a lot of mentality and mindset and mental health awareness, and it's something that should be prioritized above all else and have more conversations about it. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something right now, and then I'm gonna follow with the question. So you, as a fitness personal trainer, online trainer, I know you say you do a lot of mental and physical. So you talk to people about mental health also, kind of. How do you handle it when people around you don't understand mental health or downplay it?
Yeah, so if people downplay it, I don't try to convince them that my methods work, or I don't try to convince them to do what I do. Instead, I just lead by example because it's hard to convince that person who is not serious about themselves or life and that is okay with being mediocre and being lackadaisical that, hey, your mental health is really important, bro. And you better get after it, bro. Write down your goals, bro, because he's probably not going to hear it and he's not going to value it until I literally see and feel his value for mental health awareness. Then that's when I give him the service. But normally, it's when people ask me like, hey man, like I really need help here. How can you help me? Then I give them my full service. But for people that are not serious about it, then I think their time hasn't come yet. Yeah, you can't convince anybody that A is better than B. They have to realize and discover why A it really is better than B. So
I
yeah,
really like that time has not come.
yeah.
What do you want people, all my celebrities that follow me that are going to be seeing this, all my fans, to everyone
Yes.
around the world, what do you want them to take from your story today?
From my story, Jesus. From my story, take away that acceptance, the principle of accepting where you are is the first step in how we change. And number two, don't be afraid to be vulnerable with people. Being vulnerable means telling the people around you in the world what you went through and how you got better. And number three, don't stop listening to that voice inside you, that gut feeling, that inner voice, that intuition, that consciousness. That's the voice from above leading you up and towards your ambitions.
Sure.
Thanks for having me. Also,
One more
yeah,
question. We ain't done yet. What advice would you give to someone out there who's quietly battling insecurity or pain right now?
who's quietly battling insecurity or pain. First of all, I feel for you because I had that battle as well. I still do at times, but I have better coping mechanisms. And what you're lacking is coping mechanisms and how we cope and how we get over our insecurity and our hard times is again accepting it, being vulnerable with it, and listening to that voice that tells you to raise your hand, that tells you to walk back into that classroom, that tells you to go and ask your dad for help, whatever that is. You got to follow those three principles, okay? You're not alone. I know how you feel. I used to cry in my car, skipping class. I was crying in the bathroom, asking God for all the help in the world. Guess what? God gives you hard times to get stronger, okay? You ask God or you ask the universe for strength and courage, then you get hard times. What did you expect? So you're not alone.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for
me.
being a guest on my show.
Thanks, man.
It was an honor.
We'll do this again.
Of course.
I'm very proud of what you've done, Michael. This podcast is fantastic. Your mission and your message is very commendable. And I've seen a lot of growth in you in the past year or so.
It all started with you.
All right. Well, it started with you
You were
too,
a big
man.
help. You were a
All
big
right.
help then.
Thanks, man.
Alex a pussy. Stop recording.